to Prisma Chats. Today I will be talking to Emily Morgan, an engineer from the developer productivity team here at Prisma. Hello, Emily.
Hello,
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well myself. So let's jump right into it. Could you tell me a bit about what you do at Prisma and what a working student engineer does?
I'm a working student. I work part-time for the developer productivity team. Um, just developing, doing engineering tasks. So right now we're building a cloud platform to help users onboard with Prisma, and I'm working on mostly back end for this, but also some front end and stuff, and also occasionally doing some helping out developer relations during meetups and things like that.
All right, cool. What kind of got you into engineering?
Well, I have like an arts background, so I have a degree in sociology and anthropology, which is super different. And after that, I was always interested in coding and learning how, so I did like a postgraduate diploma. After it was like a year-long program, I learned like half design and half coding, so just like very basic JavaScript and PHP. And then I convinced a company to hire me in Montreal, which was like a web agency, and they were working on various projects, like mostly around e-commerce, and just kind of learned, I would say, more fundamental stuff on the job. And then after that, just like being around my coworkers, I realized like I want to go back to school and get like a formal degree, because I have like a big gap to bridge. And so I worked for another year, and then saw this school in Berlin and applied, and now I'm studying software engineering.
That's awesome. That's a really big leap of faith that you had there. And there's a lot of people that don't realize what they want to do, or they do know and they just don't chase it. So kudos to you for taking that step and actually doing what you want to do.
Thank you.
And yeah, especially from an arts background, that's super interesting. So you're still studying, right?
Yeah, I am studying full-time, so that's why I only work for Prisma part-time. Yeah. I'm in my last year.
Okay, cool. So things are getting pretty serious in the last year.
They are, and I've kind of like used up all my like modules where I can submit work things. So now I can't really use work for school anymore. So it's getting a bit difficult to juggle school and work, but it's fine.
Right. Like when comparing a university and company environment, what do you think are the main differences, or something that was striking to you personally?
I actually learn a lot more at work, I find, than in school. I think things kind of happen at a faster pace in work, so like PR reviews, things like that. This iteration cycle is like much quicker. I guess like it makes sense because most people are working full time, so they don't have so much like schoolwork, for example, to tend to as well. So it's just a faster pace. I feel like people are maybe more passionate about work than other students working on school projects, because it's maybe more like exploratory, or there's no like, I don't know, they're not so set in a specific outcome happening. So it's a little bit slower paced.
Yeah. But also at university, I tend to realize that there isn't such a big end goal, as you said, like in a company. So you're working on this project and you have a certain final product that you want to work towards. Whereas at university, it's kind of, you're producing work because they are assigning this to you and you need to learn that stuff. And you don't necessarily have the same satisfaction of being like, wow, okay, I did that. Like, I fixed this website with all these pull requests and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. But you were also mentioning that it's rather difficult to juggle full-time university and part-time work. So would you consider that to be one of your challenges?
I think that's my main challenge, is just finding enough time to do everything and not like overcommitting to certain things and saying that I have capacity to take them on and finish them by a certain date, when like I still have to find time to like relax and not be producing output. So yeah, just trying to find like a healthy balance between school, work, and then like hobbies, relaxing, taking care of myself, like cleaning, feeding myself, things, basic stuff like that. So it's hard to find the time.
Yeah, that's absolutely relatable. I mean, I had my fair share of doing university and working or having an internship on the side. And I mean, with uni, it's kind of fine, you know, because then you could also, and don't tell anyone I said this, but you could always like skip a reading or two and invest some time in yourself. But I still like, with eliminating the whole master's or studying in general, I still struggle with working and then finding time for myself, and really strengthening that organizational skill and me time. And you know, yeah, I think a lot of people consider that a challenge, whether they're just working or working and studying or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I worked.
That's a big one.
When I was working like full time for 2 years, it was like, it's 2 days on the weekend for me personally is like not enough after a certain period of time. When you've been working a full year, only having 2 days every week, one of those days you have to like clean, take care of administrative stuff, and then the other, maybe you have to catch up with friends. It's like, can become like, you always feel like you have to catch up with something. So yeah, relatable content.
But yeah, to kind of steer away from that serious topic, let's talk about what we like about working at Prisma. So what are yours?
Well, my favorite thing working there, I would say, is just the people. Like, I really enjoy my teammates, and they're always super welcoming when I ask for help, or if I need like pair programming sessions, they're very open to that. I like how small the company is, so it really feels like you're a person and not just a number. For example, if you'd be in a huge company with thousands of people, I don't feel like you'd have the same impact. Whereas here, I can also do stuff for DevRel and contribute in different places, and I just feel like my feedback is actually valued here, and that's a really nice thing. They're also super generous with their employees, like, it's in terms of like time off, and like very understanding and flexible with that kind of stuff. So it's really like a kind of people first culture here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not always the case with some tech companies, where like working as long as you can, like over your hours is like really respected.
Yeah.
And like,
and
yeah, very normalized. So here it's really like, don't overwork, like because that does lead to burnout. So it's more of like long-term thinking, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, I would say I'm in agreement here. Like, the people are really warm and spread joy. Like, even on the Slack channels, you have people sending like memes and random news. And yeah, you can learn a lot from a lot of these people, and I respect everyone in my team so much for everything that they do. And it's awesome to see like your impact on it and your contributions firsthand. And I think that's something really beautiful and very unique.
Totally.
But yeah, so speaking of contributions, I was wondering what your favorite or most exciting project was at Prisma.
I would say like what we're building now is probably the most exciting project that I've worked on, because although contributing to like the core engine stuff would be really cool, I like the fact that like when we started developer productivity team, when my team came together, there wasn't like, we didn't really have like a product that we were all focusing on. And so like a few months ago, there were only ideas and there were only just designs were only just being put together. And now we have like a functioning platform with like a few thousand users. So it's really cool to see that like transition from just an idea to something that is actually usable happen. And just seeing how this unfolds and where the platform goes from today onwards is really, it's just very exciting to kind of start from scratch in that sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me, what is a technology, both tangible or intangible, that really excites you at the moment?
I'll say like blockchain for this, because I'm doing a blockchain project at school and I didn't know anything about it a few months ago, and there was a lot of talk about it. There is a lot of hype around it, but I think the fact that it's still here and it's still a topic of discussion is kind of proof that it's not only hype. And I really like the idea of like decentralization and like getting around fiscal censorship. Yeah, I'm just excited about what's gonna happen in this space, and yeah, that's an exciting technology for me to follow.
Awesome. Yeah, I learned about blockchain at university too. It's really fascinating stuff. Like, you never realize how many middle parts there are between you and another person when it comes to these transactions. So yeah,
that's cool.
So tell me, what is your preferred stack? I know it depends on whatever you want to do, but is there something that's like your go-to generally?
I usually use Node for backends, and I like working with TypeScript. Yeah, after using TypeScript to build out anything, it's kind of hard to go back to JavaScript. I just find developing with it's a lot easier. You can be a lot more confident when you're building stuff. I usually use a relational database like Postgres, and even if I wasn't working for Prisma, I would genuinely say I would use Prisma because I was using it before I started working here, and I really like using that to interact with the database. It's like perfect for a TypeScript and Node project. It makes developing so much faster. So I would say that, and then yeah, on the front end, like React is a pretty sure choice, and maybe Next.js, which is what we use in cloud, with also a GraphQL API. And this developing is always like a breeze with this. Like, it's always easy to make changes and easy to build features. So I don't really have complaints with this stack. I think it's like a very promising modern stack.
Yeah, indeed. So when you think about people that are just getting started with developing, what would you advise beginners now to learn first or try to pursue first? And I know, again, that it depends, but yeah, do you have any words of advice for people starting?
I would recommend JavaScript for sure, because you can use it in a browser, which is probably really exciting for people that have never coded before, because that's how they usually interact with code, is probably through a browser. So to see that they can make changes and then like see something on their screen, I think they can like iterate very fast. There's a very like low barrier to entry with JavaScript. You don't have to set like a whole bunch of things up. So yeah, I think it's a really easy tool to get started. And then when you're ready, you can use something like TypeScript, which is just providing you more type safety. But you can use TypeScript to how much you want. Like, you could type everything as like any, and just like keep developing. Obviously that's not great, but like how much you want to use the power of TypeScript is up to you. So it's a nice tool if you're just getting started.
Okay, awesome. So those are all my questions for you today, and you gave me a lot of really cool, thorough answers. And I want to thank you for coming here and sharing your wisdoms and your experiences. Yeah, and for those of you watching, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me.